This is more than an audiobook. It is a key. The hidden path shows you that the door you seek is already there, hidden only by your disbelief. The moment you choose knowing over searching, your entire reality begins to shift. The Hidden Path. Introduction. Beyond the veil of time, where echoes dance between stars and memory, there exists a murmur, faint yet eternal, carried through the breath of sages and the silence of ancient nights. This murmur is no ordinary sound, but the whisper of the hidden path itself, calling to those whose hearts have begun to remember. What you now hold is not a book, but a threshold. It is the hush before awakening, the lantern flickering just ahead in the darkened wood. These chapters are woven from threads of a wisdom older than stone, entrusted to the care of those who walked before you, keepers of a knowing that can neither be bought nor taught, only recalled. You did not find this path by accident. The path found you. It speaks to the stirrings within you that defy logic and reason, inviting you to step beyond the brittle boundaries of the seen. This is not the journey of the seeker who strives, but of the one who surrenders, who hears the call beneath the noise and dares to follow it inward. The hidden path does not stretch out before you like a road. It spirals inward into the still sanctuary of your own soul. It does not demand you to become more, but to remember that you are already everything. The power you seek is not beyond the stars. It is the quiet pulse within your chest, the same force that breathes galaxies into being. As you walk these sacred words, let them not instruct you, but awaken you. Allow them to vibrate within you like the first chord of a forgotten song. Do not rush. The truths hidden here are not meant to be grasped, but allowed to bloom in silence and stillness. Each chapter is a doorway, each word a thread of starlight guiding you back to the source. These teachings are not new. They are eternal, whispered by the wind in lost forests, etched in the dust of forgotten temples, pulsing within your very being. Let them fall into you like rain, into a quiet lake. In time, they will rise, not as answers, but as remembrance. And when they do, you will know. The path was never hidden. It was always within you, waiting to be seen. Part 1. The Unseen Awakening. Chapter 1. The Door You Cannot See. In a forgotten corner of time, there lived a woman named Evelyn, her silver hair carrying the wisdom of decades. One autumn afternoon, while exploring the dust-laden reaches of her ancestral home's attic, she discovered an ancient chest. Within its weathered confines lay a key, its surface marked by the passage of countless seasons. Most would have dismissed it as worthless, but Evelyn held it with reverence, feeling its weight not in her hand, but in her soul. For 3 days she carried this key, knowing, not wondering, but knowing, it would reveal its purpose. On the 4th morning, as sunlight painted shadows on her study wall, she noticed what had always been there, the outline of a door, visible only to eyes that believed. The rusted key, perfectly imperfect, turned with ease, opening to a chamber filled with golden light. The physical world presents itself as absolute, yet it bends to the power of unwavering belief. What you perceive as solid and unchangeable exists first in the realm of the invisible. Your thoughts, Beliefs and deepest convictions shape the matrix of reality before it manifests in the world of form. Reality mirrors not your actions, but your innermost certainty. Each moment reflects back to you the sum of your beliefs, showing you not what is, but what you have accepted as truth. The visible world follows the invisible like a shadow follows form, like waves follow the moon's pull. In a bustling city, Walter had spent years chasing success through endless action. His calendar overflowed with meetings. His mind raced with strategies, yet prosperity remained elusive. One day, exhausted by the pursuit, he chose stillness. In the quiet of his morning meditation, he released the need to make things happen. Instead, he held the feeling of completion, of abundance already present. Within weeks, opportunities began appearing unsought. A chance encounter led to a partnership. An old friend introduced a perfect client. His business flourished not through effort, but through alignment. The very success he had chased now chased him, drawn by the magnetism of his certainty. Your journey mirrors these tales. The door you seek already exists. It waits not for you to find it, but for you to acknowledge its presence. The moment you shift from searching to knowing, from trying to being, reality reshapes itself to match your conviction. As the sun sets each day, find a moment of perfect stillness. Close your eyes and see before you a door, at first faint as morning mist. With each breath, let it become more distinct, more real. Feel the certainty of its presence growing within you. When the door stands clear in your mind's eye, step through it. This practice, ancient as time itself, aligns your inner knowing with the infinite power of creation. Chapter 2. The Law That Watches in Silence. In the depths of the Great Depression, when hope seemed as scarce as gold, Clara sat at her weathered sewing machine. Night after night she stitched not just fabric, but dreams into every seam. While others spoke loudly of their desires, she held hers in sacred silence. With each careful stitch, she wove her vision of a thriving dressmaking shop, feeling it as real as the cloth beneath her fingers. You see, Clara understood something that few in her time grasped. The law of attraction moves not through words shouted to the heavens, but through the quiet certainty of the soul. As she worked, mysterious forces began to stir. A wealthy woman appeared, seeking exactly the kind of detailed work Clara specialized in. An empty storefront became available at precisely the right price. Thread and fabric arrived as gifts from unexpected sources. The law of attraction operates with the precision of gravity, responding not to what you say or do, but to who you are. Like the moon pulling the tides, your inner state draws corresponding circumstances into your experience. This force never sleeps, never pauses, never fails to match your deepest convictions with their physical equivalents. When you understand this truth, you realize that every moment of your life has been a demonstration of this law. Every circumstance, every relationship, every experience reflects the sum total of your inner state. You need not activate this law any more than you need to activate gravity. It simply is. In a bustling factory across town, Edgar discovered this same truth through different means. Amid the deafening roar of machinery and the shouts of frustrated workers, he cultivated an unshakable inner peace. While others complained about conditions, he maintained his center, holding in his mind the image of harmony and order. Gradually, the atmosphere around his workstation began to shift. Tools that once broke regularly now lasted longer. Colleagues who had been confrontational became cooperative. His supervisor, noting the island of calm that surrounded him, promoted him to floor manager. Edgar never spoke of what he wanted. He simply held it as truth within himself. You too possess this power. The law of attraction responds not to your words, but to your state of being. Your world transforms not through external demands, but through internal alignment. For the next day, practice the art of silent creation. Make no verbal requests, speak no complaints, voice no desires. Instead, hold what you wish to experience as a quiet certainty within. Feel it as already accomplished. Watch as the universe begins its dance of manifestation, responding not to what you say, but to who you are being in each moment. Chapter 3. Desire is the Map. In a sunlit classroom one autumn morning, Louisa received an unusual gift from her teacher, a blank piece of parchment yellowed with age. "This is no ordinary map," the teacher said, her eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom. "Its paths will reveal themselves only when you remember what your soul already knows. You see, within each being lies a sacred desire, not the fleeting wants of the ego, but the divine instructions whispered to your soul before birth. These desires did not originate in your mind. They were planted within you by the universe itself, like seeds waiting for the right season to bloom." As Louisa held the empty parchment each evening, something extraordinary began to unfold. First, a faint line appeared, then another, as she allowed herself to remember her deepest yearning, to heal through music. The more she acknowledged this desire as holy rather than impossible, the more the map filled with intricate pathways, each leading to this divine purpose. Your desires are not random accidents or selfish indulgences. They are sacred coordinates guiding you toward your destined contribution to the world. When you feel that persistent pull toward something that seems beyond reason, you are receiving signals from the infinite intelligence that orchestrated your existence. Harold, a veteran who had spent decades following others' orders, discovered this truth in the quiet of his retirement. While clearing his childhood home, he found an old notebook filled with drawings of gardens, elaborate sanctuaries of peace he had imagined as a boy. In that moment, he realized his lifelong attraction to creating spaces of tranquility wasn't just a hobby to dismiss. It was a divine assignment he had carried within him all along. The universe speaks through your deepest longings. That persistent dream you've tried to silence, it is not meant to be rationalized away. It is meant to be recognized as your portion of the divine plan, your unique thread in the cosmic tapestry. Now, take your journal and write your most persistent desire, not as a wish list item, but as a sacred mission statement. Begin with these words: "I was born to." Let your hand move across the page as though transcribing an ancient truth. Feel the weight of divine purpose in each word. This is not an exercise in imagination. It is an act of remembering what your soul has always known. Your desire is not a burden to overcome. It is a beacon lighting your way home to your authentic purpose. Trust that what calls to you most persistently is calling for a reason. It is the universe's way of guiding you toward your highest expression. Chapter 4. The Pact of Silence. In the depths of wartime, when hope seemed a distant memory, Margaret penned her deepest visions onto parchment. With trembling hands, she sealed the letter with crimson wax, marking it with an ancient symbol of manifestation. Under the cover of dawn, she buried this sacred container of dreams beneath an old oak tree, vowing to keep her desires hidden from the world until they materialized. You must understand, there exists a mystical relationship between silence and manifestation. When you speak of your intentions prematurely, you release the very energy needed to bring them into form. The universe operates through subtle vibrations, and each word spoken about an unmanifested desire scatters these vital forces to the wind. Think of your desires as seeds planted in fertile soil. Just as a gardener knows not to disturb a seed while it takes root, you must protect your manifestations during their delicate period of gestation. Every time you speak of what is still forming, you expose it to the harsh elements of others' doubts, fears, and misunderstandings. These external energies can weaken the pure vibration of your intention. Rufus, a gifted musician, understood this sacred principle. In his small apartment, he composed melodies that would later move thousands to tears. Yet while these compositions were taking shape, he shared them with no one. He knew that each note needed to be nurtured in the silence of his own certainty before it could withstand the world's gaze. Only when the music had fully matured within him, when it carried the unmistakable resonance of completion, did he allow others to hear it. This is the power of sacred secrecy. When you hold your visions in the quiet sanctuary of your own heart, you give them the space to gather strength. You allow the universe to work uninterrupted, weaving together the invisible threads of manifestation without the static of external opinions or premature celebration. Margaret's buried letter manifested word for word not because she wrote it, but because she honored it with her silence. Rufus's music touched souls not because he spoke about it, but because he protected it until it was ready to emerge. Now, you are invited to practice this ancient art of sacred silence. Choose one significant goal, one precious seed of manifestation. For the next 30 days, create a vault of silence around this intention. Feel it growing stronger within you. See it taking shape in your mind's eye. But speak of it to no one. Let your energy remain fully focused on nurturing this vision rather than dispersing it through words. This is not about secrecy for secrecy's sake. It is about understanding the alchemical power of contained energy. In this silence, you will discover that the universe speaks most clearly when you stop announcing and simply allow. Chapter 5. The Secret Language of Energy. In the grand concert hall of the ancient city, Pearl stood alone with her violin. No audience filled the seats. No applause awaited her performance. As she drew her bow across the strings, something extraordinary unfolded. The dust particles dancing in the shafts of sunlight began to shift and swirl, responding to each note she played. The higher the frequency of her music, the more the light seemed to shimmer and transform. You live in a universe of vibration. Every thought you hold, every emotion you experience, radiates a specific frequency into the field of infinite possibility. Just as Pearl's violin notes visibly altered the light in that empty hall, your internal state shapes the very fabric of your reality. The universe responds not to your actions, but to your frequency. This truth has remained hidden from those who seek external solutions to internal misalignments. When you understand that alignment precedes manifestation, you begin to see why some people achieve more with less effort, while others strain ceaselessly with little result. Consider Franklin, who delivered newspapers in the early hours before dawn. For months, he had tried to increase his earnings by running faster, taking more routes, pushing himself to exhaustion. Yet his circumstances remained unchanged until he discovered the secret of frequency. One morning, instead of rushing through his deliveries, he chose to feel the abundance he desired while walking his usual route. With each paper he placed on a doorstep, he emanated the feeling of prosperity. He didn't change his actions, he changed his resonance. Within weeks, generous tips began appearing in envelopes. Customers requested additional subscriptions. Opportunities for advancement emerged unexpectedly. Franklin had tapped into the fundamental truth. The universe responds to your emotional frequency, not your physical effort. This is why two people can perform the same action yet experience vastly different results. One operates from a frequency of lack, the other from abundance. One moves from anxiety, the other from peace. The action may look identical, but the frequency tells a different story. Just as Pearl's violin demonstrated that frequency shapes physical reality before it's even heard, your emotional state is continuously broadcasting a signal that the universe must match. This is not metaphor. It is physics operating on a quantum level. Your invitation now is to become a conscious broadcaster of frequency. For 7 minutes each day, deliberately elevate your emotional state without requiring any external circumstance to change. Feel abundance before the money arrives. Experience peace before the situation resolves. Emanate joy before the reason appears. This is not pretense. It is alignment with the frequency of what you wish to attract. Sit quietly and allow yourself to generate these elevated emotions purely through your focused intention. Feel them in your body. Let them radiate from your being. You are learning the language that the universe actually speaks, the language of frequency. Chapter 6. The Shadow of Doubt. In a valley where flowers bloom year-round, Wesley inherited his grandmother's garden, a place where, legend said, even desert roses would flourish. With packets of seeds in hand, he began his work. Yet with every seed he planted, a whisper of doubt poisoned the soil. These won't grow. The legends were wrong. This is impossible. Day after day, Wesley watered empty beds, his thoughts seeping into the earth like toxic rain. While other gardens in the valley burst with color, his remained barren. The seeds, though planted in rich soil, refused to sprout beneath the weight of his disbelief. You must understand, doubt is not merely the absence of faith. It is an active force, as potent as belief itself. When you doubt, you are not neutral. You are actively believing in what you do not want. Your doubt becomes the fertilizer for the very reality you wish to avoid. The universe cannot distinguish between what you want and what you believe. It simply reflects back the strongest frequency you emit. When doubt overshadows desire, you plant the seeds of your own disappointment. In a distant town lived Nellie, a woman who chose to trust beyond reason. When her fields lay parched from drought, She set her table each night with an extra plate, believing rain would bring unexpected guests. While others hoarded their last drops of water, she shared hers freely, knowing more would come. When neighbors questioned her sanity, she smiled and said, "I choose to trust irrationally." Soon, spring's long-thought dry began bubbling up beneath her land. Travelers bought seeds from distant lands, filling her gardens with flowers never before seen in those parts. Her irrational trust had tapped into a deeper truth, that doubt is often the only barrier between you and the miracle you seek. Your doubt is not protecting you from disappointment, it is guaranteed. Each time you entertain doubt, you plant a seed of the very outcome you fear. But here is the secret that the ancient ones knew. Doubt can be transformed. Just as Wesley's garden remained barren until he understood the poison of his thoughts, your reality awaits your cleansed belief. Take now the sacred practice of transmutation. On a piece of paper, write every doubt that clouds your vision. Hold nothing back. Then, in a ritual of release, burn this paper, watching your doubts transform into ash. On a new page, write the opposite truth, the reality you choose to believe. Speak these words aloud each morning, not as affirmations, but as declarations of what you know to be true in the deepest chambers of your being. This is not positive thinking. It is energetic alchemy. You are not convincing yourself of anything. You are choosing which seeds to plant in the garden of your consciousness. Chapter 7. You were never walking alone. In the depths of the earth, where darkness held ancient secrets, Thomas descended each day into the coal mines. Unlike his fellow miners who carried talismans or muttered prayers, Thomas walked in silent communion. He had discovered something remarkable. When he stilled his thoughts and opened his heart, an unseen presence walked beside him. This presence needed no name, no formal invocation. It was as natural as breathing, as constant as the heartbeat of the earth itself. In the blackest tunnels, where even lanterns seemed to surrender to shadow, Thomas felt guided by an invisible hand. His tools would stop just before hitting unstable rock. His feet would pause before treacherous ground. Without words, without pleas, he moved in perfect synchronicity with something greater than himself. You too are never alone. The same force that guides stars through the cosmos walks beside you in every moment. It requires no elaborate ritual, no desperate petition. It asks only for your recognition, your willingness to acknowledge its constant presence. When you align with this force, you tap into an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. This is not about asking for help. It is about accepting the help that has always been there. The universe maintains countless systems in perfect harmony. Surely it can guide you through your daily life. Consider Esther, who lived in a small cottage by the sea. One morning, she woke with a simple knowing. She would begin asking for signs. Not with words or specific requests, but with an open heart. She noticed yellow butterflies appearing when she needed courage, certain songs playing at crucial moments, and specific numbers showing up in perfect sequence. These were not coincidences. They were confirmations of an eternal dialogue between the visible and invisible realms. The more Esther acknowledged these signs, the more frequently they appeared, creating a sacred language between her and the universe. This is the truth that mystics have guarded through ages. Divine guidance is not occasional. It is constant. You are already being led, already being shown the way. The only question is whether you are attuned to this guidance. Your practice now is to enter into conscious communion with your unseen guide. Each night, before sleep claims you, open your heart to receive a sign. Make no specific demand. Simply rest in the certainty that guidance will come. The next day, move through your hours with gentle awareness. Notice what catches your attention, what feels different, what speaks to your soul in ways words cannot express. This is not about looking for dramatic interventions. It is about recognizing the subtle language of the universe, a language that speaks through synchronicity, through intuition, through the quiet knowing that rises from your depths. Chapter 8. Ask without asking. In a small corner of an old market street stood Genevieve's bakery, its windows clean but empty. Each morning, she would unlock the door and breathe in the silence of her shop. Where others might have seen failure, she saw possibility. Instead of pleading with the universe for customers, she began filling her empty space with pure, unbridled joy. She danced between the vacant tables, her heart overflowing with gratitude for what was yet to come. She blessed each empty chair, as if it already held someone savoring her creations. The aroma of fresh bread became her offering of love to the universe, and her happiness became a silent prayer more powerful than any spoken word. Within weeks, the vibration of her joy began drawing people in. They would pause outside, touched by an energy they couldn't name. Soon, her tables were filled, not because she had asked for customers, but because she had become the frequency of abundance itself. You see, the universe responds not to your words, but to your energetic signature. When you speak from lack, even your prayers carry the vibration of absence. But when you emanate the feeling of what you desire, you become a magnet for its physical manifestation. This truth revealed itself again through Alvin, a man who understood the power of silent certainty. He never spoke of his dreams of success to anyone. Instead, he spent his mornings in quiet communion with his future self. He would sit in his modest apartment, feeling the satisfaction of achievements not yet manifested, experiencing the joy of victories still unseen. He didn't ask the universe for success. He became success itself in his very being. Soon, opportunities began appearing as naturally as leaves sprouting in spring. People would approach him with exactly what he needed. Doors would open without him knocking, and paths would clear without him pushing. This is the art of vibrational asking. Your energy speaks louder than your words ever could. The universe responds not to what you say you want, but to what you are being in each moment. When your very presence vibrates with the reality you desire, you need not voice a single request. Your practice now is to enter the realm of silent asking. Each morning before the world awakens, sit in perfect stillness. Instead of forming requests with your lips, become the version of yourself who has already received everything you desire. Feel it in your cells. Let this feeling saturate your being until it becomes your natural state. This is not pretense. It is energetic alignment with your chosen reality. As you master this practice, you'll discover that the universe has been waiting not for your words, but for your resonance with what you seek. Chapter 9. The hidden yes. In a village where matchmakers whispered and young hearts yearned, Marjorie walked alone, not in sadness, but in a peculiar state of knowing. While others saw her unmarried status as a mark of misfortune, she discovered something remarkable within herself, a quiet, unshakable yes that arose from the depths of her being. This yes wasn't a response to any question. It was a state of alignment, a recognition that love wasn't something to chase, but something to embody. As she tended her garden, prepared her meals, and went about her daily life, she carried this yes like a sacred flame. She didn't need to announce it or seek confirmation. She simply knew. Within months, love found her naturally, effortlessly, as if it had always been waiting for her to align with its frequency. The universe had never withheld love from Marjorie. She had simply needed to become the version of herself who could receive it. You see, the universe's response to your desires has already been given. There is no committee weighing your worthiness, no celestial judgment determining if you deserve what you seek. The only question is, are you ready to receive what is already yours? This truth became evident through Daniel's experience in the fertile fields he tended. For years, he worked his land with dedication, but always with an underlying belief that success belonged to others. Then one morning, standing among his crops, he experienced a profound shift. He stopped seeing himself as someone striving for success and simply accepted that success was his natural state. The change was subtle, yet absolute. He didn't alter his actions. He transformed his knowledge. The same seeds he had always planted began yielding more abundant harvests. The same merchants who had always bought his crops began offering better terms. The same land that had always been his began producing in ways he had never imagined possible. Nothing in the physical world had changed, yet everything was different because Daniel had aligned with the version of himself who was already successful. This is the essence of manifestation. The yes you seek isn't hidden in some distant future or held in the hands of fate. It resides within you, waiting to be recognized and claimed. When you align with this inner yes, the outer world must reshape itself to match your knowing. Your practice now is to stand before a mirror, the gateway between your physical self and your energetic truth. Look into your own eyes and say these words, "It is already mine." Repeat this declaration until you feel the shift from hope to knowing, from wanting to having. This isn't an exercise in convincing yourself of something untrue. Rather, it's an alignment with what has always been yours, waiting for you to claim it. Chapter 10. The Mirror Begins to Move. In the quietest corner of the city library, where ancient wisdom rested on mahogany shelves, Lillian stood arranging books with practiced precision. For years she had moved through these halls as though trying not to disturb the air itself. But on this particular morning, something within her shifted, like a key turning in an invisible lock. She began carrying herself as though the library was her kingdom, not her hiding place. She walked the aisles as if each step left golden footprints. She spoke with quiet authority, not apologetic whispers. She didn't change her actions. She transformed her essence. Within weeks, the world responded. Patrons began seeking her counsel on matters beyond book recommendations. The library board invited her to lead new initiatives. Speaking engagements appeared. The same person, in the same role, suddenly commanded a different response from the universe, all because she had first commanded it from herself. You see, reality holds no fixed shape. It molds itself around your deepest knowing of who you are. The outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself when you fundamentally shift your inner landscape. This is not magic. It is law. Consider George, who spent his days beneath car engines, hands covered in grease. While others saw a mechanic, he began seeing himself as a leader of men. He didn't announce this shift. He didn't apply for promotions or demand recognition. He simply began thinking, moving, and responding as a leader would. Soon, younger mechanics started coming to him for guidance. Customers began asking his advice on business matters unrelated to cars. Within months, he was offered partnership in the garage, not because he had asked, but because he had already become what he desired in the depths of his being. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. Your outer world will always align itself with your inner knowing. This is why those who understand this law don't wait for external permission to become what they desire. They claim it first within themselves, knowing the outer must follow the inner. Your practice now is to greet each morning with a powerful declaration of who you are becoming. As the sun rises, write these words: I am now the version of me who. Complete this statement with the identity you are stepping into. Don't write what you hope to be or what you're working toward. Write who you are in this moment, in the deepest truth of your being. This practice isn't about affirmation. It's about alignment. You're not trying to convince yourself of something untrue. You're declaring your alignment with what is already true in the unseen realm, waiting to manifest in the seen. Part 2. The Silent Alignment. Chapter 11. The Power of Unspoken Knowing. In the depths of winter, when most gardens lay dormant beneath frost, Eliza knelt in her soil. Her husband's passing had left an emptiness in the air, yet she refused to fill it with empty words. Instead, she carried her certainty like a flame, warming the earth with her presence. You, too, hold this power within you, the power of unwavering certainty that needs no voice, no explanation, no external validation. When you reach this level of alignment, your very presence becomes a force that shapes reality. Watch how Eliza's garden responded to her silent knowing. As spring approached, flowers bloomed weeks before their time. Vegetables grew in abundance, though she had planted nothing new. Neighbors whispered about her green thumb, but they missed the truth. It wasn't her actions that called forth such bounty. It was her unshakable alignment with life itself. This is the essence of true manifestation. When you align so completely with what you know to be true, the universe has no choice but to reflect your certainty. Words become unnecessary. Explanations become redundant. Your energy speaks with an authority that surpasses any verbal declaration. Consider Jonah, who held a vision of gathering people to restore the old buildings in his town. At first, he tried to convince others with passionate speeches and detailed plans. But when he stopped explaining and simply began the work, something shifted. People started showing up, tools in hand. His silence, coupled with unwavering action, spoke louder than any words could have. You see, the universe responds not to what you say, but to what you are. When your being becomes aligned with your knowing, reality must shift to match your frequency. This is not about manifesting through force of will. It is about becoming so aligned that manifestation occurs naturally, like water flowing downstream. The question is not, how do I make this happen? But rather, can I be so certain that words become unnecessary? Can you hold your truth with such clarity that explanation becomes redundant? Your practice now is to embrace sacred silence. For one full day, resist the urge to explain your actions, defend your choices, or justify your path. Let your energy speak for itself. Move through your day with the quiet certainty of one who knows rather than one who needs to prove. Notice how others respond not to your words, but to your presence. Observe how reality begins to align with your silent knowing. This is not a practice in passivity. It is an exercise in spiritual authority, the kind that requires no announcement because its power is self-evident. Chapter 12. Protect the Flame. In the depths of night, Florence sat before her wooden drawer, a sanctuary where her deepest truths lay hidden. Her poems, fragments of her soul captured in ink, remained locked away from prying eyes. You might recognize this instinct within yourself, this sacred urge to protect what matters most. Watch closely now, for here lies wisdom as ancient as time itself. One evening, as Florence knelt in her usual vigil, something extraordinary occurred. Her verses, though sealed behind wood and metal, began to emit a soft luminescence. The drawer itself seemed to pulse with an inner light, as if the power of her protected dreams had grown too strong to contain. This revelation speaks to a universal truth. Energy that is guarded grows in strength. When you shield your deepest aspirations from the casual glances and careless words of others, you allow them to gather power in the silence. Your dreams are like delicate seedlings. They require darkness and protection before they can withstand the harsh light of day. Consider the subtle ways your own energy disperses when you speak too soon of what you hold dear. Each premature sharing, each eager explanation, releases power that could have been concentrated into manifestation. The universe honors what you protect. Henry understood this principle well. Each night, without fail, he would light a single candle in his window. This flame represented his most cherished vision, one he never spoke of, one he tended in perfect silence. He simply stood guard over his light, watching it dance in the darkness, allowing its power to build night after night. In time, what that candle represented materialized in his life, as naturally as dawn follows dusk. You too possess dreams that require this level of devotion and protection. They are not meant to be scattered in casual conversation or diluted by explanation. They are meant to be nurtured in sacred silence until their power becomes undeniable. Your practice now calls for the creation of a sacred space, an altar to your protected vision. Choose a quiet corner of your home where you can place symbols of what you're cultivating. This might be a candle, a meaningful object, or simply an empty space that represents the fullness to come. Visit this altar daily, but speak nothing of it to others. Let it become a point of power, a place where your energy gathers and grows stronger with each silent acknowledgement. This is not about secrecy born of fear, but privacy born of wisdom. In this space, you'll learn the art of holding power without dispersing it. You'll discover how silence can become a vessel for manifestation, and how protected energy naturally expands to fill the shape of your desires. Chapter 13. The Vow of the Hidden Path. In the depths of the Great Depression, when hope seemed as scarce as bread, Sylvia walked the dim hospital corridors with a presence that defied the darkness of those times. You see, she had discovered something that transcended the limitations of medicine, the power of invisible healing. Without speaking a word of her method, she began to pour her entire being into each moment with her patients. She didn't just change bandages, she held space for wholeness. She didn't merely administer medicine, she became a channel for restoration. What happened next defied medical explanation. Patients under her care began recovering at remarkable rates. Wounds healed faster, fevers broke sooner, and spirits lifted inexplicably. The other nurses whispered about her magic touch, but Sylvia knew it wasn't in her hands. It was in her alignment with something far greater. This truth beckons you now. When you make a sacred covenant with your highest self, the universe responds with forces beyond physical comprehension. This is not about doing more. It is about becoming more. It is about choosing to walk the hidden path, where your power lies not in what others can see, but in what you have silently become. Consider Clifford, a gifted orator who stood at the crossroads of fame. Publishers sought his words, crowds gathered to hear him speak, yet something deeper called. In the midst of growing acclaim, he chose to step away. He followed an inner whisper that led him to teach small groups in quiet rooms, sharing wisdom that could never make headlines but transformed lives at their core. The world called him foolish. His colleagues questioned his sanity. But Clifford had made a vow to his soul, to serve truth, not applause. In time, his quiet work created ripples of transformation that reached further than any public platform could have achieved. You stand at a similar threshold. The hidden path asks not for your public declarations, but for your private dedication. It requires a sacred promise between you and the infinite, a vow that transcends logic and answers only to truth. This is your invitation to forge that covenant. Take a moment now, in perfect solitude, to write a vow to your soul. Let it emerge from the depths of your being, not from what others expect or understand. This is not a goal list or a set of intentions. It is a sacred contract with your highest self. Seal this vow in an envelope. Keep it where only you can find it. Each week, in silence, read these words again. Let them remind you of the path you've chosen, not the path of external validation, but the path of inner alignment. This is your compass when the world suggests easier routes. This is your anchor when doubt whispers alternatives. Your practice now is to write this soul vow and honor it in sacred silence. Let it become the invisible foundation upon which your transformation builds. Chapter 14. When you no longer need it. In the quiet corners of an old farmhouse, Agnes tended to her empty nursery each morning, dusting picture frames that held no photos, straightening blankets that warmed no child. Her longing echoed through empty rooms until the day she understood. You see, her desperate need had become a wall between her and her deepest desire. This truth awaits your recognition. When you cling too tightly to what you want, you create resistance in the very fabric of creation. The universe cannot fill hands that are already clenched. It is in the gentle opening, the sacred letting go, that space is made for miracles. Agnes began a different practice. Instead of pouring her pain into that empty room, she started nurturing joy itself. She planted flowers, sang to birds, loved freely, becoming a mother to life itself. Within weeks, what she had released returned to her naturally. She discovered she was with child. This principle operates with unwavering precision in every aspect of existence. Your desires are not wrong, but your attachment to them may be blocking their arrival. When you need something too desperately, you broadcast the frequency of lack, and lack must then respond. Witness Reuben, a merchant who had chased wealth with such intensity that poverty seemed to follow him like a shadow. His ledgers consumed his thoughts. His fears of lack poisoned his sleep. Then one morning, something shifted. He looked at his simple breakfast and felt rich. He walked through his modest shop and felt abundant. He stopped seeing what was missing and began treasuring what was present. The transformation was subtle at first. A wealthy customer here, a fortunate opportunity there. But as Reuben maintained his practice of feeling abundant regardless of circumstances, prosperity began flowing naturally into his life. He had discovered the paradox. Abundance comes not to those who need it most desperately, but to those who have found it within themselves first. This wisdom speaks directly to your journey now. What are you clutching too tightly? What desire has become a burden rather than a blessing? The path forward is counterintuitive. You must release what you most want to receive. Your practice now is to face your deepest desire with new understanding. Take your journal and write it down, the thing you want so much it aches. Then, beneath it, inscribe these words of power. I release the need for this. I am whole with or without it. Feel the truth of these words in your body. Let them sink into your bones. This is not resignation. It is spiritual alchemy. When you can truly mean these words, when you can feel complete regardless of outcomes, you enter the state of being that naturally attracts fulfillment. For what you seek is also seeking you, waiting for you to become empty enough to receive it. Chapter 15. The Currency of Belief. In the harsh years of the Dust Bowl, young Frankie wandered the streets with empty pockets, but a heart full of unshakable faith. Each morning he would reach into his threadbare coat and pull out invisible coins, offering them to the baker with complete conviction. The baker, moved by something beyond rational thought, would always place a fresh loaf in his hands. You see, Frankie had discovered what mystics have known through the ages. Belief is the only currency the universe truly recognizes. When you invest the full weight of your conviction into something, the physical world must reshape itself to match your inner certainty. This principle operates with mathematical precision. What you believe with unwavering faith becomes your experience, not through magic, but through the fundamental laws that govern all creation. The universe responds not to what you request, but to what you energetically invest in as truth. Consider how Eloise, a humble seamstress, transformed her reality through this same principle. She began carrying herself with the quiet dignity of someone whose success was already assured. She arranged her small workshop as if it were already the grand atelier she envisioned. She spoke to her single client with the same care and attention she would give to royalty. She did not hope for success. She lived from it. Within months, her one client became 10, then 50, then hundreds. The world simply adjusted itself to match the energy she had already claimed as real. She never had to convince anyone of her worth. She had already convinced herself, and that was enough. This truth now stands before you. What you believe is what you invest in. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption is an energetic investment that must yield returns in kind. The universe has no choice but to match your energetic currency. Your sacred practice is this. Each morning, as the sun rises, speak these words with the full force of your being. Today, I invest in belief. Then, for 5 precious minutes, inhabit the version of yourself who already lives the reality you desire. Move as that person moves. Think as they think. Feel what they feel. This is not pretense. It is prophecy. You are showing the universe exactly what to reflect back to you. This investment of belief is the most powerful transaction you can make with existence itself. For when you truly believe, you have already paid the price in full. Chapter 16. Guardians of the Gate. In the early days of steam travel, Leonard stood at his post each morning, guiding his iron beast along the steel rails that stretched toward the horizon. Every day, without fail, the same passenger would board his train, a man whose anger seemed to seep into the very air around him. This man found fault with everything: the schedule, the seats, the speed, the stops. His complaints rang through the carriages like discordant bells. For months, Leonard attempted to appease this difficult passenger, yet nothing changed. Until one morning, as Leonard watched the familiar figure approach, a truth whispered itself into his consciousness. This man was not merely a passenger, but a gatekeeper of sorts, placed upon his path by the universe itself. You see, every soul's journey contains these sacred thresholds, points where resistance appears not to block your path, but to refine your vibration. These moments of friction serve as spiritual checkpoints, ensuring you have achieved the necessary frequency to proceed to your next level of becoming. When Beatrice encountered door after closed door in her professional life, she initially saw only rejection. Each no felt like a personal affront until she understood the deeper wisdom at play. She began to thank each rejection, recognizing it as a guardian of her path, ensuring she would not step forward until she had cultivated the precise energetic signature required for her true calling. "Thank you for protecting me from what is not aligned with my highest good," she would say after each interview that didn't lead to an offer. In doing so, she transformed what appeared to be obstacles into sacred refinements of her being. The universe places these gatekeepers in your path not to punish or discourage, but to ensure you are vibrationally prepared for what awaits on the other side. Each challenge you face is a threshold guardian, asking, have you achieved the frequency necessary for what you seek? When Leonard began to see his difficult passenger as a divine messenger rather than an adversary, something shifted. He met the man's anger with genuine compassion, understanding that this was his opportunity to master his own energetic state. Within weeks, the angry passenger's demeanor softened, and eventually he stopped appearing altogether. The gatekeeper had served his purpose. Leonard had passed his test. Your sacred practice. Take a moment now to identify the challenge that stands before you. It may be a person, a situation, or a recurring pattern that seems to block your path. Face this challenge directly and speak these words aloud. You are here to refine me. Feel the truth of this statement in your bones. This is not an obstacle. It is a gateway to your next level of becoming. Chapter 17. Signs, Symbols, and Synchronicity. In a small town where whispers carried on morning mist, Mabel worked her needle through fine cloth, her prayers as silent as her stitches. Each dawn, as she opened her wooden shutters to greet the day, a single feather would rest upon her sill, white as moonlight, soft as secrets. She never spoke of these gifts, understanding that the universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. You, too, receive such messages daily. The language of the infinite flows through your experience in symbols, patterns, and gentle nudges that most overlook. These are not coincidences, but conversations, sacred dialogues between your soul and the vast intelligence that orchestrates all of creation. When you align with this truth, the universe begins to speak more clearly, using a vocabulary unique to your understanding. A cardinal may appear at precisely the moment you question your path. The same word might surface in 3 different conversations. A melody could follow you from street to street. These are not random events. They are responses to your inner state, confirmations of your unspoken knowing. Howard understood this language well. For weeks he noticed the number 444 appearing everywhere, on clocks, receipts, building numbers. Instead of dismissing these occurrences, he recognized them as breadcrumbs leading to something significant. Following these numerical signs led him through 3 cities, each connection building upon the last, until he found himself standing before an opportunity that seemed crafted precisely for his talents. The universe speaks in patterns, in repetition, in moments that make your soul pause and wonder. These signs are not meant to be analyzed with the logical mind, but felt with the intuitive heart. They arrive not to direct you, but to confirm what your spirit already knows. Your task is not to force meaning from every occurrence, but to remain open to the subtle language of synchronicity. When you quiet your mind and tune your awareness to these gentle messages, you begin to recognize the intimate dialogue that has always existed between you and the infinite. Sacred practice. As this day unfolds, set a clear intention to receive a sign. Hold this intention lightly, without attachment to how it should appear. When something catches your attention, be it a recurring symbol, an unusual encounter, or a persistent thought, record it in your journal. Sit with this sign in silence, allowing its personal meaning to emerge from within. The universe speaks your language. Trust that you will understand its message. Remember, these signs are not meant to be shared or explained to others. They are intimate communications between your soul and the divine, meant to be honored in sacred silence. Chapter 18. Silence is not emptiness. In a small cottage on the edge of wilderness, Dorothy painted in absolute silence. For 7 years, her brushes whispered across canvas, speaking what words could not express. No radio played, no visitor knocked, no voice disturbed the sacred space where creation emerged from stillness. The world knew nothing of her work, yet the universe witnessed every stroke. You stand now at this same threshold of understanding. The deepest power does not announce itself. It accumulates in silence, like morning dew gathering unseen through the night. What appears as absence is actually presence in its purest form. In the void, all possibilities exist. Within silence lies a force so potent it can reshape reality. This is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of becoming, like a seed transforming beneath dark soil, like a butterfly forming within its chrysalis. When you cease the endless chatter of explanation and justification, you enter the realm where true power resides. Samuel discovered this truth when circumstances stripped everything away. In the aftermath of loss, he retreated into complete silence for 30 days. No complaints, no plans, no desperate reaching for solutions. In that cocoon of quiet, a vision emerged, not from his striving mind, but from the depths of stillness itself. This vision carried such clarity and force that it reshaped his entire existence. He emerged not with mere ideas, but with knowing that flowed from the source itself. The universe does not need your words to understand your desires. It reads the silence of your soul. When you stop filling the space with noise, mental, verbal, or physical, you allow something greater to enter. This is not passive waiting, but active receptivity. It is the difference between knocking desperately at a door and becoming so still that you hear it quietly opening from within. Sacred practice. Find a space where you will remain undisturbed for 20 minutes. Create no expectations about what should happen. Make no requests. Simply sit in complete silence. Let your breath become soft, your mind quiet, your being receptive. This is not meditation with a goal. It is pure presence. Notice what emerges when you stop seeking, stop asking, stop trying. The silence itself is speaking. Listen. You may feel resistance to this practice. The mind often fears silence, believing that without constant activity, nothing will happen. But remember Dorothy's paintings, born of years of quiet. Remember Samuel's vision, received in the depths of stillness. Trust that in the space where words end, something profound begins. Chapter 19. The Echo Effect. In a small town where whispers carried far and judgment traveled faster, Clarence, the preacher's son, made a sacred vow. Each morning, as the sun painted the chapel windows, he chose to speak only words of love, not from obligation, but from an inner knowing. When the church funds ran low, he blessed the empty collection plates. When criticism found him, he responded with genuine appreciation for the growth it offered. When doors closed, he thanked them for guiding him to better paths. You see, the universe operates like an infinite echo chamber. Every word, thought, and feeling you release returns multiplied. This is not metaphor. It is law. The vibration you maintain becomes your reality's signature tune, and all of existence must harmonize with that frequency. What you speak into the void becomes the song your world sings back to you. This is why masters of manifestation guard their words as carefully as an alchemist guards his formulas. Your words are not mere expressions. They are instructions to the universe. Consider Irene, who transformed a failing inn into a sanctuary of abundance. She saw divinity in every guest who crossed her threshold, treating each as if they carried a sacred light. Even those who arrived angry or difficult received her unwavering reverence. She did not pretend. She chose to perceive the highest truth in each soul she encountered. Slowly, her inn began to attract guests who reflected this same energy back to her. The rooms filled with increasingly gracious travelers. Her reputation grew not through advertising, but through the energetic signature she consistently maintained. The universe simply matched her vibration. This law operates with mathematical precision. What you give out must return. Not because of moral virtue, but because it is the nature of energy to seek equilibrium. When you maintain a consistent vibration of any quality, love, abundance, peace, the universe has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Sacred practice. Begin each interaction with these words spoken silently to yourself. What I give, I receive. Then consciously give exactly what you most desire to receive. If you seek understanding, offer it first. If you desire respect, extend it to others before they earn it. If you long for abundance, find ways to help others prosper. Maintain this practice throughout your day. Notice how quickly the universe begins to mirror back to you the exact quality of energy you choose to emit. You are not asking for what you want. You are becoming it. Chapter 20. The Invisible Shift. In the quiet streets of a small town where shadows of war still lingered, Morris walked with measured steps each morning. Not the hurried pace of a man trying to escape his memories, but with the dignified gait of one who had made peace with his path. He no longer carried himself as a wounded warrior, though his injuries remained. Instead, he moved as if guided by an inner light. You see, transformation occurs first in the invisible realm. Morris understood this truth without ever speaking it aloud. He had discovered that the world responds not to what has changed on the outside, but to what has shifted within. As he aligned with this deeper knowing, people began responding differently. Not because he looked different, but because he felt different to them. This is the sacred alchemy that few understand. Your inner state creates your outer reality. When you truly grasp this principle, you stop waiting for external circumstances to shift and instead focus on maintaining your internal alignment. The universe cannot help but rearrange itself around your new vibration. This truth manifested clearly in June's experience. Living in a small apartment above a noisy street, she made a simple yet powerful choice: to feel joy without reason, not because her circumstances warranted it, but because she understood that joy was her natural state. She began experiencing moments of pure delight while washing dishes, walking to work, or simply sitting in silence. As her inner joy stabilized, her outer world began to mirror this shift. Opportunities appeared, relationships healed, and even her modest apartment seemed to shine with new light. Yet June understood that these external changes were merely echoes of her internal transformation. You must understand, the path of transformation is not measured by external markers. Success is not found in what others can see, but in the quiet certainty you carry within. When you feel peaceful despite outer chaos, when you maintain joy regardless of circumstances, this is when you know true alignment has begun. Once this internal shift takes root, nothing can prevent its outer manifestation. It is as certain as dawn the following night. The universe must respond to your new vibration, not because you have earned it, but because it is law. Sacred practice Each night before rest claims you, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what shifted within me today? Record in your journal one internal change, no matter how subtle. Perhaps you felt more peace during a challenging moment, or maintained joy when you would normally feel frustration. These small shifts are the seeds of profound transformation. This practice will help you recognize that true change happens in moments no one else can see. By acknowledging these inner victories, you strengthen their power to reshape your outer world. Part 3. The Revelation of Mastery. Chapter 21. Power You Can't Talk About. High in the misty hills, where wisdom runs deep and silence holds ancient secrets, lived a woman named Geraldine. Those who found their way to her door never spoke of how they knew to come. They simply arrived, drawn by an unseen force. She worked with herbs and touch, yet never once claimed to be a healer. The animals of the forest would lie at her feet, receiving her quiet energy, and rise transformed. Not once did she speak of her gift. You must understand this fundamental truth. Power in its purest form requires no declaration. Just as the sun never announces its ability to give light, true spiritual mastery operates in silence. When you align completely with the universal force, your very presence becomes the power. No words needed, no validation required. This silent strength represents the highest form of vibrational mastery. It is not about being seen, recognized, or understood. It is about becoming so aligned with your inner truth that reality has no choice but to respond. Think of how the moon pulls the tides without a sound, how gravity holds worlds together without explanation. This is the level of power available to you when you release the need to prove, explain, or justify. Warren's journey mirrors this truth. As a merchant in a bustling town, he had spent years seeking approval, explaining his worth, defending his choices. Then one day, he simply stopped. He withdrew from the endless cycle of proving himself, and instead began operating from a place of quiet certainty. He no longer announced his plans or sought validation for his decisions. He simply moved through his days with an unwavering inner knowing. What followed was remarkable, though Warren would never have used that word. His business flourished without promotion. Opportunities appeared without pursuit. Those who once questioned his methods now sought his counsel. Yet he offered no explanation for this transformation, understanding that true power needs no voice. You see, the most potent forces in your life often go unnoticed by others until their effects become undeniable. Like the invisible wind that shapes mountains, like the silent growth that splits concrete, your aligned energy will transform reality without fanfare or announcement. Sacred practice. Select one area of your life where you habitually seek validation, perhaps in your work, relationships, or personal choices. For the next 7 days, withdraw completely from seeking any external approval in this area. Do not explain your actions. Do not seek confirmation. Do not defend your choices. Simply move forward with quiet certainty, knowing that your alignment is enough. Let the results speak for themselves. This practice may feel uncomfortable at first, for the ego craves recognition. But in this discomfort lies a gateway to true power, the kind that needs no announcement, no validation, no proof. It simply is. Chapter 22. Become the answer. In the highest reaches of the mountain, where the air grows thin and wisdom settles like morning dew, Martha lived alone in a small cottage. After her husband's passing, she spent years pleading with the universe for peace, sending prayers into the wind, begging for relief from her grief. Then one morning, she simply stopped asking. You see, Martha had discovered what you are now ready to understand. Peace is not a destination to reach, but a frequency to embody. She began moving through her days as if she were at peace itself. Her steps became lighter, her breath deeper, her presence softer. She didn't chase tranquility, she became it. This truth stands before you now. The universe responds not to what you pursue, but to what you become. When Martha stopped seeking peace and started being peace, the world had no choice but to mirror her transformation. Birds began nesting closer to her home, wild deer would graze peacefully in her presence, and visitors would feel their troubles dissolve upon crossing her threshold. Consider Alfred, the merchant who understood this principle in his own way. For years he had prayed for abundance, petitioning the heavens for prosperity. His breakthrough came when he ceased his desperate prayers and instead began moving through life as someone who knew abundance was already his. He walked differently. He spoke differently. He made decisions not from lack, but from the unwavering knowing that prosperity was his natural state. The universe has no choice but to respond to your energetic signature. When you shift from seeking to being, from asking to embodying, reality reshapes itself to match your frequency. This is not about pretending or forcing. It is about allowing yourself to vibrate at the frequency of your desires. Your desires are not random wishes. They are glimpses of a version of you that already exists. That version is not waiting to be created. It is waiting to be embodied. When you wake each morning, you stand at a crossroads between who you have been and who you are becoming. The question before you is not, what do I want? But who must I become? The path opens not through endless asking, but through the quiet embodiment of the truth you seek. Like Martha, like Alfred, you are called to stop chasing and start being. Sacred practice. As the sun rises each morning before your feet touch the ground, ask yourself, what does the version of me who has it all do today? Then, let every action flow from that elevated state of being. Move as that version of yourself would move. Speak as they would speak. Choose as they would choose. This is not an exercise in pretending. It is an invitation to step into your highest truth. Chapter 23. Unseen yet undeniable. In a quiet corner of a small-town library where sunlight filtered through dusty windows and ancient wisdom lingered between weathered chapters, Dolores understood a truth you are now ready to receive. Each morning, she would arrange 12 chairs in a perfect circle, light a single candle, and open her chosen book. For weeks, she sat alone, yet her certainty never wavered. You see, Dolores had discovered what you must now embrace. True power needs no announcement. She held within her the unwavering knowledge that these chairs would be filled, not through promotion or persuasion, but through the magnetic force of aligned energy. The universe responds to certainty with certainty. As Dolores sat in her solitude, reading aloud to empty chairs, something shifted in the town's fabric. First came an elderly gentleman, drawn by an inexplicable pull, then a young mother with restless hands. Soon, without advertisement or invitation, Every chair held a soul seeking what Dolores had known was waiting. This principle manifests itself in countless ways, as Nelson's story reveals. In his workshop at the edge of town, Nelson crafted a simple tool, a device born from pure inspiration. He never spoke of it, never tried to sell it, never pushed it upon anyone. Yet one by one, his neighbors began appearing at his door, each somehow knowing they needed what he had created. You stand now at the threshold of this wisdom. What aligns with truth requires no defense. The power you seek does not come from convincing others or proving your worth. It emanates from your unwavering alignment with what you know to be true. When your internal frequency matches the reality you envision, the world has no choice but to respond. Like Dolores's reading circle and Nelson's invention, your truth will draw its own witnesses. The universe does not need your words. It needs your certainty. This is the art of magnetic manifestation, to hold your vision with such clarity and conviction that reality bends to meet it, not through force, not through will, but through the quiet power of aligned energy. Sacred practice. Each day, find a space of complete solitude. For 5 minutes, hold your vision within your heart. Speak nothing. Force nothing. Simply exist in perfect alignment with what you know to be true. Watch as the world begins to mirror your inner certainty. The shifts may be subtle at first. A changed glance, an unexpected invitation, a door that suddenly opens. But like Dolores's empty chairs that filled themselves, your reality will begin to reflect your inner knowing. Chapter 24. The Identity Beyond Identity. In the quiet corners of her small apartment, Louise sat with a truth that now beckons to you. Each morning she would look in the mirror and see not the woman marked by loss, but the woman waiting to emerge. Her transformation began not with grand gestures, but with the simple act of choosing a new name, one that carried no history, no wounds, no limitations. You too stand before such a mirror now. The self you have known, the identity you have carried, is but one frequency among infinite possibilities. Like Louise, who began signing her stories with a name that matched her inner truth, you hold the power to shed the weight of who you once were. The universe knows nothing of your past. It responds only to the energy you emanate in this moment. When Louise released her grip on her former self, allowing a new signature to flow from her pen, the world had no choice but to meet her at this higher frequency. Her words, once heavy with memory, began to dance with possibility. Publishers who had never noticed her suddenly felt drawn to her work. Readers who had never known her name now sought her wisdom. Martin's journey mirrors this truth. For years he had worn his title like armor: regional sales director, divorced father, weekend golfer. But in one quiet moment, he chose to lay these labels down. He began moving through his days with a different rhythm, speaking with a voice that came from somewhere deeper than his history. He stopped introducing himself by what he did and began living from who he truly was. The world can only reflect back what you believe about yourself. When you cling to old identities, you anchor yourself to old realities. But when you release these limitations, when you allow yourself to expand beyond the story you've been living, the universe must respond with new possibilities. This is not about denying who you've been, but about embracing who you're becoming. Like Louise with her new name and Martin with his shifted presence, You are being invited to step into an expanded version of yourself. Sacred practice. Take a clean sheet of paper and write a letter introducing your new self to the universe. Begin with the words, "I am now." Describe how this version of you moves through the world, how they speak, how they think, how they carry themselves. Detail the energy they emanate, the choices they make, the life they lead. This is not fiction. It is your emerging truth. Each night, before sleep claims you, read this letter aloud. Let each word resonate in your cells, programming your energy field to this higher frequency. Feel yourself becoming this expanded version with every breath, every heartbeat, every moment. Chapter 25. Creation as a Sacred Act. In a small studio bathed in morning light, Vera stood before her canvas, not with the familiar anxiety of seeking approval, but with the reverence of one entering a temple. For years, she had painted for galleries, for critics, for validation, until the day she realized her art could be something far more sacred. You too stand at this threshold of understanding. The work of your hands, the desires of your heart, the dreams you carry. These are not mere wishes to be granted. They are invitations to co-create with the divine force that moves through all things. When Vera began approaching her canvas as an altar, something shifted in the very pigments she used. Each brushstroke became a whispered prayer, each color choice a communion with something greater than herself. She stopped asking, "Will they like it?" and began asking, "Does this honor the sacred?" Her galleries noticed. Where once they saw technique, they now witnessed transcendence. Her work began selling not because she marketed better, but because it carried an energy that could not be denied. Clark discovered this same truth in the realm of commerce. His small manufacturing business had always been about profits and deadlines, until he transformed his factory floor into holy ground. Every morning he would walk the space, blessing each machine, honoring each employee's contribution as essential to the whole. Meetings became meditation, decisions became divination, and growth became grace. His revenue tripled not through aggressive strategies, but through this subtle shift in consciousness. The universe does not require your striving. It invites your partnership. When you approach your desires as sacred collaboration rather than desperate manifestation, you enter a different dimension of creative power. You are not here to beg the universe for scraps from its table. You are here to sit at the feast as an honored co-creator, to participate in the eternal dance of bringing heaven to earth. This is the hidden truth that transforms ordinary actions into ceremonies of power. Everything is sacred when approached with reverence. Every moment holds the potential for divine partnership. Every action can become a prayer. Sacred practice. Select one daily task, something you normally perform without thought. It could be preparing breakfast, writing emails, or tending to your garden. Transform this activity into a sacred ceremony. Before you begin, stand in silence for a moment. Feel the presence of the divine waiting to work through your hands. Move with deliberate grace. Let each gesture carry meaning. If you're cooking, feel every ingredient as a blessing. If you're writing, let each word emerge from your highest self. If you're tending plants, recognize the holy in every leaf you touch. Perform this sacred ceremony for 7 days. Watch how treating one aspect of your life as divine begins to elevate everything around it. For in this practice lies a profound truth. When you honor the sacred in the simple, the extraordinary cannot help but find you. Chapter 26. The Inner Temple. In the stillness before dawn, Iris would sit in perfect silence, eyes closed, traveling inward to a sacred chamber that existed only in her consciousness. This was her true sanctuary, not built of stone and wood, but of thought and reverence. Within this inner chapel, she prepared herself for the sacred work of bringing new life into the world. You, too, possess this power to create an inner altar, a holy space that transcends the physical realm. The universe has gifted you with the ability to construct sanctuaries of the mind that no earthly force can disturb or destroy. When Iris attended births, she carried this inner temple with her. Her hands moved with physical skill, yes, but it was the radiance from her internal sanctuary that brought extraordinary comfort to mothers in their most vulnerable moments. She had discovered what the ancient mystics knew, that the most powerful temple is the one built within the silent chambers of consciousness. Roland learned this truth in the harshest of circumstances. Behind prison walls, where external freedom was denied, he discovered an infinite expanse within himself. Each day, he would retreat to a mental cathedral he had carefully constructed, its windows made of imagination's light, its walls built of unshakable peace. In this inner sanctuary, he found a freedom his captors could never touch. Other inmates noticed the change in him, a serene presence that seemed to defy their surroundings. The power to create such a sacred inner space lies dormant within you. This is not mere visualization. It is the art of building a spiritual home within your consciousness. When you learn to retreat to this inner temple, you carry an unshakable center with you wherever you go. External chaos may swirl, but you remain anchored in your internal sanctuary. This inner temple becomes your source of power, your place of communion with the infinite. It is where manifestation begins, where healing flows from, where wisdom speaks in sacred whispers. Unlike physical structures that can crumble or be taken away, this sanctuary grows stronger with each visit, more detailed with each meditation, more powerful with each moment of reverence. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment and close your eyes. Begin to build your inner temple. See its entrance, perhaps a door of light or an ancient archway. As you step inside, notice the details that make this space uniquely yours. Is there an altar? What sacred objects rest upon it? Are there windows that let in divine light? Is there a seat where you can rest in perfect peace? Visit this inner sanctuary daily. Add to its beauty each time you enter. Perhaps there are gardens that bloom with thoughts of abundance, or fountains that flow with healing energy. Make it as real in your mind as any physical place you've known. This is your sacred space, where no one else can enter, where your highest self awaits communion with you. Here, in this temple of consciousness, you will find strength that cannot be shaken and peace that cannot be disturbed. Chapter 27. They will wonder, you will know. In a small town where gossip traveled faster than light, Ruth sat at her sewing machine, a gentle smile playing across her face as whispers of her extraordinary luck floated through open windows. Her fingers moved steadily across fabric while her neighbors wondered about her secret, how her business flourished without advertising, how opportunities seemed to find her, how peace radiated from her home like warmth from a hearth. You see, Ruth had discovered what few ever grasp, that true power needs no explanation. While others sought to understand her methods, she simply inhabited her knowledge. Each stitch she sewed carried the frequency of absolute certainty. She had no need to defend her choices or explain her path. Her alignment spoke louder than any words could. The universe responds not to what others believe about you, but to what you know within yourself. This knowing, deep, unshakable, and silent, becomes a force that shapes reality without effort. It requires no validation from the external world. In fact, the less you seek to be understood, the more purely your power flows. Consider Emmett, who transformed his small bookshop into the town's most prosperous business. Not through conventional methods, but through his unwavering inner alignment. He never joined the Merchants Association or attended networking events. He declined interviews from the local paper. While others questioned his approach, he simply smiled and continued following his inner guidance. Those who watched him closely noticed something peculiar. The more they tried to decipher his success, the more mysterious it became. Because true mastery often appears as magic to those who haven't yet awakened to their own power. Emmett knew that explaining himself would only dilute his energy. His results spoke for themselves, and that was enough. This is the paradox of spiritual power. The less you try to prove it, the more evidently it manifests. Your knowing is a sacred flame that needs no witness to burn brightly. Let others wonder. Let them question. Your role is not to convince, but to embody. When you truly know something in the depths of your being, external validation becomes unnecessary. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the quiet certainty that comes from being in harmony with universal law. Others may call it luck, coincidence, or mystery. You need not correct them. Your results will speak with more eloquence than explanations ever could. Sacred practice. Stand before your mirror each morning and speak these words with quiet certainty. They don't need to understand. I know. And that is enough. Let this truth settle into your bones. Feel the power that comes from releasing the need for others to comprehend your path. Your knowledge is complete within itself. Chapter 28. When you speak, reality moves. In the quiet halls of an old schoolhouse, Hazel taught more through presence than through words. Her students would often recall years later not what she said, but the power they felt when she finally chose to speak. You see, she understood what few ever master, that words carry the weight of your entire being. When you speak from misalignment, your words scatter like leaves in the wind. But when you speak from the depths of your power, reality itself bends to listen. This is not about volume or frequency. It is about the spiritual voltage behind each syllable. Watch how the universe responds to those who speak rarely but truly. Their words become incantations, not because of any mystical practice, but because they have learned to align their entire being before opening their mouth. This is the ancient art of sacred speech, where what you say carries the full force of what you are. Victor understood this instinctively. At a crucial town meeting, while others debated endlessly, he sat in silence. When he finally rose to speak, just once the room stilled. His words, born from hours of inner alignment, shifted the entire trajectory of the town's future. Not through persuasion or rhetoric, but through the sheer power of aligned truth. You have this same power within you. Each time you speak, you are either strengthening or diluting your connection to universal force. Most speak from reaction, habit, or need, but you are learning a higher way, speaking from presence, from power, from the silent core of your being. Notice how your words affect the field around you. When you speak without alignment, you feel the energy scatter. But when you pause, center, and allow truth to rise from your depths, you feel the difference. The air itself seems to carry your words differently. Reality responds not to volume, but to resonance. This is not about controlling speech. It is about elevating it. Let each word you speak be a conscious creation, a deliberate shaping of energy. The universe recognizes and responds to this level of intentional communication. Your words become bridges between the unseen and the seen, between potential and manifestation. Sacred practice. Before each instance of speech today, pause. Ask yourself, is this aligned? Feel the truth in your body. Speak only when your words carry the full weight of your presence. Notice how differently the world responds when you communicate from this place of power. Chapter 29. No More Waiting. In a small dance studio, aged wooden floors held the weight of a dream too long deferred. Leonora, her silver hair tied back, stood before the mirror each morning at dawn. She had waited decades for the right time, until one day she realized time was not waiting for her. You see, in the eternal dance of manifestation, there is no such thing as not ready. The universe does not measure preparation. It measures alignment. When Leonora finally began moving as if she were already what she longed to become, the world had no choice but to mirror her certainty. This is a truth that few dare to grasp. Delay is not wisdom. It is resistance dressed in reasonable clothes. You believe you must prepare, plan, and perfect before stepping into your vision. But this is the greatest illusion on the path of power. The universe responds not to readiness, but to resonance. Eugene understood this when he stood at the edge of his comfort, facing a decision that seemed to demand more proof. With no guarantee, no safety net, and no external validation, he stepped forward. What he discovered was what all masters know. The ground rises to meet those who trust enough to move. You have been waiting. Perhaps you call it preparing, or planning, or being practical. But beneath these noble words lies a deeper truth. You are hiding from your own power. The time you seek exists only in your mind. In the universe's eyes, there is only now, this eternal moment where all possibility lives. Your dream is not waiting for time to be right. It is waiting for you to be bold enough to claim it. When you move as if you are already what you seek to become, time bends to accommodate your vision. This is not about age, circumstance, or external validation. It is about the courage to embody your truth before the world confirms it. Let Leonora's dance remind you. She became a sensation not because she finally found the right time, but because she stopped believing in the illusion of timing altogether. Her body, marked by decades, moved with the grace of someone who had realized that readiness is a myth that keeps us small. Sacred practice. Look at your life right now. Identify one dream you've been postponing. Today, not tomorrow, not when you're ready, take one action that declares to the universe, I am this now. Let it be imperfect. Let it be small. But let it be immediate. For in that immediate action, you break the spell of delay and step into the power of now. Chapter 30. The Hidden Path Revealed. In a weathered trunk beneath decades of dust, a simple leather notebook tells the tale of Alma. Her handwriting, delicate yet assured, speaks of miracles that unfolded in a village whose name time forgot. Yet what makes this discovery remarkable is not the events she recorded, but the quiet certainty with which she lived them. You now stand at the threshold of understanding that Alma reached long ago, that the hidden path was never about reaching a destination, but about remembering who you truly are. Through these chapters, you have walked the ancient way of silent power. Yet now you must grasp the deepest truth. You were never merely walking the path. You are the path itself. Look back at your journey. Every moment of doubt that tested your resolve, every silent victory that strengthened your faith. These were not random occurrences, but divine orchestration. Just as Stanley, who spent years questioning his direction until one morning he saw the perfect pattern of his life unfold before him. In that moment of clarity, he understood that every step, even those that seemed to lead nowhere, was perfectly aligned with his soul's evolution. The power you seek has never been lost. It was simply waiting to be remembered. Like Alma's notebook, filled with accounts of everyday miracles, your life is a testament to the quiet magic that unfolds when you align with your true nature. She never announced her power, never sought validation for her gifts. She simply lived in complete alignment with the truth she knew within. What you have learned through these chapters is not new wisdom. It is ancient knowing awakening within you. The silence you've cultivated, the certainty you've nurtured, the presence you've embodied. These were not skills to acquire, but remembrances of your original state. Sacred practice. Take a moment now to honor your journey. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. With pen in hand, write a letter to your past self, the one who first opened these chapters seeking answers. Write these words: You made it. You became who we were always meant to be. Let each word carry the weight of recognition, of coming home to yourself. This is not an ending, but an awakening to the truth that has always lived within you. Conclusion. From the moment these words found you, a sacred transmission began, not through the chapters you held, but through the silence between them. Each teaching awakened what your soul has always known, that true power needs no announcement, that the universe bends to unwavering certainty, and that manifestation flows from alignment, not effort. You have discovered why the ancient masters spoke in whispers, why the deepest truths were passed in silence. It was never about keeping secrets. It was about preserving power. The noise of the world drowns out wisdom, but in the quiet spaces between thoughts, divinity speaks. Your journey through these chapters has been more than learning. It has been remembering. Remembering that you are not separate from the force that moves worlds, that your desires are divine assignments, and that your presence alone can shift reality when aligned with truth. Look now at how you have changed. Notice how you carry yourself differently, how you speak less but mean more, how you trust the unseen with the certainty of one who knows. This transformation was not taught, it was remembered. You have reclaimed your original state of power, where manifestation is as natural as breathing. The world may continue its frantic dance of doing, proving, and chasing, but you have found a different way. You have remembered that true power lies in being, not doing, in knowing, not showing, in vibrating at the frequency of your desires until reality has no choice but to match it. This wisdom is now encoded in your cells. You no longer need external validation or permission. The divine walks with you because it has always been you. You are not just walking the hidden path. You have become it. Let others search for what you have remembered. Your role now is simply to be, to hold the frequency, to know without needing to prove. This is not an ending. It is your return to your original state of mastery. Your journey doesn't end here. Click on this next audiobook that I promise will completely transform your perspective.